Smuggling drugs has become a norm in today's world. Criminals are buying and selling drugs out in the open and has successfully evaded the shackles of the law for years without facing any consequences. But why can't the police get their hands on these criminals even after trying so hard? In this episode, we'll answer all of your questions, so make sure to stay tuned until the end. People fail to realize that there's a whole new world under the sea that they've got no idea about. Many cases of ships loaded with containers of drugs getting caught have been reported and busted down by the U.S. Coast Guard. For example, in July of this year, a ship was seized by the U.S. Coast Guard transporting $158 million worth of drugs. Drugs sell for hundreds of millions of dollars in the black market, explaining the unimaginable wealth status of criminal drug lords. Because of its high demand, smugglers try to evade anything in their way to complete their mission. Submarines are a popular way of eluding the police and smuggling drugs. These submarines can carry up to 3 tons of drugs at times. But what happens when these criminals are held and confronted by the U.S. Coast Guard? Submarines lurk under the water. They're built very well and are hard to detect. This illegal business is expanding day by day as the demand for these drugs increases. There have been a few occurrences where the U.S. Coast Guard has come face to face with these underwater criminals, and there's been a recent incident in 2019 involving a submarine carrying illegal substances, highlighting the importance of the U.S. Coast Guard. Showcasing their abilities, the U.S. Coast Guard intercepted and seized a submarine carrying approximately 5,500 kilograms of illicit drugs. This interception was a combined effort of the U.S. Navy, U.S. Coast Guard, and the U.S. aircraft. This pursuit took place in the Pacific Ocean, a known area for drug trafficking activities. The Coast Guard Monroe, equipped with advanced detection systems, detected a mini-submarine vessel in the open suspiciously navigating through the water. The crew of the Monroe, accompanied by a U.S. aircraft, initiated a high-speed pursuit of the submersible. Despite many attempts to maneuver and evade the police, the Coast Guard tried relentlessly and eventually was successful in stopping the sub. Upon entering the vessel, the crew members of the Coast Guard discovered a shocking 12,000 pounds of cocaine, estimated at a staggering $165 million in the black market. The interception was like a punch to the face of drug trafficking organizations and significantly affected them and disrupted their operations. But this isn't the only time the U.S. Coast Guard has caused damage to these organizations. In June of 2019, the U.S. Coast Guard carried out a bold operation in the eastern Pacific Ocean and managed to seize another drug submarine transporting a whopping 17,000 pounds of cocaine. This whole incident was recorded, and at the end of this 60-second video, you can get a glimpse of the person inside the vessel. The drugs apprehended in this operation were estimated to have a $232 million value. In a total of 14 instances in 3 months, the U.S. Coast Guard intercepted drug submarines, confiscating 39,000 pounds of cocaine and approximately 900 pounds of marijuana. Officials estimated the value of these narcotics to be approximately $569 million. No doubt that the people involved in these operations should be severely punished. The criminals prosecuted have claimed in their testimonies that they were under immense pressure and faced death threats if they didn't carry out the operation given to them by these criminal organizations. Cartels are known for their ruthless strategies to instill fear, using a combination of violence, threats, and financial incentives to lure individuals into participating in their illicit operations. Generally, the authorities keep the information of how these submarines are caught confidential due to obvious security reasons, but occasionally they provide information on their detection methods in order to raise awareness, show their efforts, and frighten potential criminals. However, it's important to mention that the authorities release the data very carefully to ensure that it doesn't affect any ongoing investigations at the time. The U.S. introduced the Drug Trafficking Vessel Interdiction Act in 2008. This act made it a felony that individuals who intentionally or knowingly operate or board a self-propelled mini-submersible without nationality or try to navigate international waters with the aim of evading detection. The penalty for this offense can result in 20 years behind bars in the United States. In the 1980s, drug cartels faced challenges regarding detection. This made them come up with stealthier smuggling methods in the early 1990s, which led to the invention of Narco Submarines. These are large custom vessels crafted to transport huge quantities of drugs. These vessels were built in the hidden jungle terrain by experts in countries like Pakistan. Some of these vessels had high production costs, which could go up to $2 million. In 2021, approximately 30 drug submarines were confiscated, showing the increasing drug trade. Keeping this in mind, the question that appears is, who are these people working tirelessly for days and are so dedicated to the job of combating the Narco Subs? The U.S. Coast Guard was introduced in 1790. It's one of the branches of the U.S. military with 40,000 active duty members and 8,300 civilian employees. It became the modern-day Coast Guard in 1915. Their operations span both the Pacific and Atlantic areas, with a mixture of helicopters, airplanes, icebreakers, and patrol boats ready to assist in their search and rescue missions. The U.S. Coast Guard, or USGC, is a crucial factor in keeping dangerous drugs away from American soil. The USGC has collaborated internationally, forming counter-drug contracts and sponsoring initiatives like the Multilateral Maritime Counter-Drug Summits. They have also formed a partnership with the U.S. Southern Command through the Technical Assistance Field Team, or TAFT, to strengthen Caribbean forces. In 2014 alone, the USGC, along with their partners, intercepted and caught 93 vessels, confiscating large quantities of narcotics. These operations highlight the significance of the role the USGC plays in bringing down the escalating drug trades. And without them, drug trade would soar and people would be at risk. Furthermore, the U.S. Navy is eyeing them in order to improve their ability in the future to counter any difficulties that come their way. The primary method the U.S. Navy uses to catch these criminals is through sonobuoys, which consist of long cables and underwater microphones that are towed against the ships while still listening for the slightest hum from potential targets. But the problem with sonobuoys is that they may not be very reliable and have a limited range. Unmanned vessels are also deployed to listen for targets. They're often referred to as bluefins. However, they're more agile. They've also got problems communicating with the crew members when submerged underwater. This is why the U.S. Navy is testing new technologies on a daily basis to improve their capability. New advancements are also being tried by the Navy to help strengthen their existing equipment, as the USGC not only works day and night to see ships and submarines carrying tons of illegal substances, but they're helping protect the people of an entire nation too. Let us know your thoughts on these drug submarines and how they're caught. And don't be afraid to suggest any other way the US Navy could use to intervene in these operations and catch the criminals involved more efficiently. And if you enjoyed the video, we ask you to like our video and subscribe to our channel to show your support. It means a lot to us and keeps us motivated to make more videos on the US Navy for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all in the next one.